Mia and Benjamin have been happily married for 5 years. Initially, they hesitated to have children because they carefully considered this topic. And now, on their wedding anniversary, they have finally made a big decision. "I'm ready," Mia smiled. "I really want a baby." "I think it's the right time," Benjamin replied. He got a well-paid job, the apartment was renovated, and nothing stood in the way of having their first child. But it took a while to get pregnant. They had to undergo examinations, visit doctors, and even try alternative medicine. This was also advised by Mia's mother-in-law, who thought that Mia still couldn't satisfy her husband with 2 lines on the pregnancy test. Isabella began to actively participate in her son and daughter-in-law's life. The weekends did not pass without her calls and questions. "When is it going to happen? Didn't it work again? You're doing it all wrong. I have to teach you everything." Isabella came to her daughter-in-law and said, "Here is the address of the witch doctor. She will wait for you tomorrow." "Isabella, I'm not sure about such things. We prefer to do things in a traditional way." "I know your traditional ways. You spend your whole money on doctors and nothing." "I am a religious person, and I won't go to a witch doctor," replied Mia. The mother-in-law pursed her lips but remained silent, and Mia thought that the matter was settled. But Isabella had another idea. She told her son how she had solved all her problems by visiting a witch doctor, promised quick results, and insisted on their own. Benjamin surprisingly accepted his mother's point of view and confronted Mia about it. "Go. There is nothing wrong with this. She is a herbal collector, not a witch. Do not be so stubborn. Mom will not give you bad advice," her husband said, and forced Mia literally to go to the herbalist. Mia had to obey. She didn't want to argue, and she realized that both her mother-in-law and her husband had the common good in mind. Mia didn't like the healer. She whispered something, sprayed her with something, then poured a potion into a bag and handed it to him. "Take it once a day," she said. "Thank you," said Mia and hurried. She was being watched. She was afraid that her mother-in-law would find out, so she drove home. She had to convince her family that she had done what she was told. She put the bag on the shelf and closed the closet. Although the potion was not touched, the long-awaited pregnancy occurred about a month after visiting the herbal dealer. Mia thought this was a coincidence because she did not take the herbs, but continued the treatment prescribed by the doctor. But the mother-in-law claimed success and convinced her son that Mia's pregnancy was only earned. Isabella realized that her daughter-in-law had followed her advice and decided that she had now had a say in all affairs. She believed that, due to her age and experience in all matters, she should have the final say, even in those that were of no importance. She sought advice on everything, from the nutrition of the expectant mother to the optimal bedtime. Her attention and concern bordered on absurdity. For instance, when the clock struck midnight and the couple was enjoying their favorite movie by candlelight, the doorbell rang. Isabella had come all the way from the city to ensure that Mia followed her prescribed routine and got ready for bed. "What is this?" she exclaimed, storming into the room without hesitation and quickly packing up everything she saw on the table. There were Mia's beloved rolls and rice noodles. "Isabella, what are you doing?" Mia tried to snatch the last plate of her mother-in-law with rolls, but she only became angry and said that such dishes were not intended for pregnant women. "Benjamin, why did you let your wife eat it all? She's not clever, but you're all ready? What did you look? It is also night, and eating at this time of day is not healthy for a healthy person. Pregnancy is not a disease," Mia tried to answer, but she was showered with counter-arguments. Benjamin had eaten his portion and was not too upset that the food had disappeared from the table. He thought that Mom might be right, and that raw fish should not be eaten. It could be bad for the baby. "Okay, Mom, we will no longer order this meal. I'm sorry." "I'm sorry? So your mother called me a brainless person, and you ask her for forgiveness." Mia couldn't endure it anymore. Tears ran over her cheeks. Benjamin began to calm his wife, and Isabella went away softly and took a whole bag with food. Let us forget this misunderstanding. You know that she means well, right? No, I don't believe that. I don't like her sticking her nose in everything. Other pregnant women eat chalk, or salad cucumbers and chocolate, and I can't eat what I want. Yes, you can. I'll go to the supermarket and buy what you want. Well, buy me a few rolls, just like the one I had on the table before your mother came. No, everything except the rolls. Mia ran out of the room. The evening was ruined. Just like the other evenings when Isabella showed up empty-handed and turned out to have something in the house. One day she came in the afternoon when only Mia was at home. She used to come straight from work because she didn't feel comfortable. On the way there she felt better, as is often the case. She was hungry, so Mia bought her a yogurt and a roll. She almost finished her roll when she saw that her mother-in-law was waiting for her. Isabella, what are you doing here? Your son said you had morning sickness, she said, eyeing the roll. No wonder. You ate on the way, the cheapest of the cheap. What is that? A ham and cheese croissant? Give it here. Isabella tried to take the roll away from her daughter-in-law, and they almost fought. A neighbor intervened. What are you ladies doing? Are you fighting over the last piece of bread? She is pregnant, inexperienced, and doesn't know what she's allowed to do. This is a joke. My mother-in-law immediately softened. Oh, I know these young people think they know everything themselves. The women found common ground and started talking about their children. Mia brushed off the crumbs, went inside the apartment, and closed the door. Her mother-in-law noticed that she had been left behind and knocked, but Mia didn't let her in. Isabella had driven the entire neighborhood away. Benjamin came, and there was another scandal. And once again the mother-in-law left while Mia sobbed and demanded justice. But Benjamin blamed everything on frantic hormones, supported by his mother. The closer the appointment, the worse the situation became and the more overwhelmed Isabella felt. Mia had more and more health problems and decided to talk to her husband. Benjamin, I understand that you love your mother and she loves you, but I don't want her to appear in our house. Mia had no time to end. She heard the key turned in the castle and was startled because only she and Benjamin had a key. Thieves have broken in, but instead of the thieves, Isabella appeared with a suitcase in the hallway. Mia caught the thought that she would have been happier with the thieves than with her mother-in-law. How did you manage to open the lock? Was everything she could get out. With a key? My son gave it to him, bowed Isabella. He is worried about you, and you don't let me in. You can't do that. In the last few months of pregnancy, you have to have access to the apartment if you don't. In any case, he and I decided that you need help both mentally and physically. My grandson will be born soon, and I will take care of him. In the meantime, I will make sure that everything goes as it should. The mother-in-law Benjamin pushed the suitcase and went into the room. Well, you have it. Even more junk food. That wanders everything into the trash can. From now on, I will pay attention to what you eat and drink. I brought broth for lunch. I also brought a herbal tincture from the medicine man. Drink it immediately, said her mother-in-law in a tone that did not tolerate any objections. Mia looked at her husband, who was expecting an explanation, but he just smiled and stroked her shoulder. Mom is right. It is the best, dear, Mia said. After her mother-in-law started to dictate her own rules and decided to interfere in her son Benjamin and her pregnant daughter-in-law's lives, there was a scandal. Mama only wants the best, said Benjamin. I know what the best thing is. I can manage without your mother. If you want to live with her, you can. She will just cook for you and feed you like a baby bird. Do you like that? Then go and hide under your mom's wing. I'm not going to participate. Mia realized that it couldn't continue like this. She didn't even bother to pack. She just grabbed a light jacket and ran outside to hail a taxi. The situation with her mother-in-law had pushed her to her limits. Mia, come back. You will catch a cold. Where are you going? You have no family here. Her husband Benjamin ran outside. So I'm going to the train station. Do not worry. If you don't take care of yourself, then at least think of our child. I will not allow you to take a risk, he said in a stern voice. and I will not allow your mother to interfere in my life. This apartment is too small for both of us, so make a decision. Either you or me. You're forcing me to do the impossible. I need you, but I can't give up my mother. So goodbye, said Mia, and got into the taxi. Ironically, she felt unwell in the taxi. Therefore, the driver did not take them to the train station, but to the child care clinic. The doctors were able to help in time, and Mia did not lose the baby. But for the rest of the time before birth, she was in labor. All family members were concerned. Benjamin visited his wife every day, and Isabella had served under the windows and brought her healthy food and everything she needed for a successful birth. Mia's room was packed with several bags, the contents of which she didn't even want to look at. She hated her mother-in-law more and more, even if a lot of people told her that Isabella was incredibly caring and Mia was very lucky. You're crazy. I would give a lot for such a mother-in-law. My mother-in-law didn't call me once. She is not interested in anything, and not my father either. You don't even know who was born, son or daughter. I will go home by bus to my village by bus, said one of the women in the labor who hit Mia. But Mia thought it was better not to have a mother-in-law at all than to have one. When Vaneshka was born, Isabella was the first to arrive. She tried everything to get to her grandson and see him. Mia was too weak to object. She wanted to rest, but Isabella had things planned her way. She had invited a photographer, an animator, and a pageant. As soon as she had the opportunity, she took the nurse with her grandson and held onto him as if he was her own son. There wasn't a single photo where Isabella couldn't be seen. Grandmother, give the baby to the father. We need to take a photo of the young family. The photographer stammered, but received such a monologue as a response that he immediately stopped talking. We are a family. Your job is to take photos, not give advice, Isabella said. Mia didn't object. She was still recovering from the intense contractions and wanted to go home as soon as possible. And the first thing she noticed when she crossed the threshold was her mother-in-law's things. It turned out that Isabella had lived with her son all the time, and she didn't intend to leave her. Benjamin, can you explain to me what this means? Asked Mia and nodded towards the occupied closet. Mom lives with us. Temporary, quiet and discreet. She won't be in the way. It is only for the good, said the husband in a steamed voice. He remembered that the previous dispute had almost led to a miscarriage, and he didn't want to traumatize Mia. However, he firmly believed that his mother would be a great grandmother, and that her presence in the house would do everything better. While you were in the hospital, my mother helped me with my homework. Cooking, cleaning, washing the laundry. You can see that the house shines. I would not have done it alone. While the two argued, Isabella Vaneshka took them into the children's room. Mia didn't want to leave her mother-in-law alone with the child and followed them. I can get along alone. You can go, she said. You can't do it. You don't know how to do anything. The mother-in-law opened her mouth, but immediately stopped speaking. Her son came into the room. Yes, of course, I just wanted to say that I will help. Leave me and Vanya alone. We don't need your help. Good afternoon, Mia said coldly. Isabella had to go. This time, the daughter-in-law had won. But the mother-in-law didn't take long to ask and even took her things with her. When will your mother pick up her things? Mia asked her husband. If she can. Are they bothering you? Benjamin wondered. Yes. I'll talk to her. But the conversation didn't lead to the outcome Mia expected. The next evening, Benjamin told his wife that his mother was in trouble. A pipe burst and the apartment was underwater. It has to get repaired. Let him do it. It is not our fault. She asks to move in with us. No, no way. Mia said, no way. Hey, wake up. She is my mother. I can't refuse her help. Benjamin shook his wife's shoulders as if he wanted to bring her back to reality. And I am your wife. And I don't want to live with her. No matter how hard Mia tried, Benjamin wouldn't listen to her. It's her apartment too. Don't forget that. We are practically guests here. She has the right to live with us for a week while her apartment is being renovated. he made a decisive argument that could not be contradicted. After the wedding, the newlyweds moved into his mother's apartment, while she moved into a one-room apartment that Benjamin inherited from his grandmother. At that moment, Mia was grateful that her mother-in-law did not spare expenses for her daughter-in-law and son. She had the door repaired and replaced, installed a new lock, and did not ask for a key to the new lock, giving the newlyweds their freedom. But this freedom turned out to be temporary and illusory. And now Mia was even willing to live in a temporary shelter just to avoid seeing Isabella, whose eyes showed contempt for her daughter-in-law's humble circumstances. Mia really didn't know how to do much, but it was important to her to do everything herself because she was expecting her child and enjoyed being with her son. She wanted to learn everything, but she couldn't trust her mother-in-law. For some reason, every contact between Isabella and her grandson caused such a storm of jealousy in Mia that she could not contain herself. She would have liked to take the child away immediately and hide it. Still, Mia had to make concessions. Her mother and father had died a few years ago, and her brother was living with his family in her parents' apartment. There was hardly any room for them there, and it was foolish to divorce her husband after she had just given birth, so Mia agreed to a compromise. Her mother-in-law moved in with her and her husband for the duration of the renovation, and although there was an agreement to respect each other's boundaries, Isabella did not act more modestly. On the contrary, with the arrival of her grandson, she became even more fixated on being a grandma. She would barge into the bedroom in the middle of the night when she heard the baby cry. This not only annoyed Mia, but also Benjamin. He warned his mother, but she ignored him. "If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have any children at all," she said. "You have nothing to do with the child. He is our son, not yours," said Mia. "You wouldn't have gotten pregnant if you hadn't taken the medicine man's herbs," she accused. "I didn't take them," said Mia, expecting her mother-in-law to be surprised, but instead she laughed. "Do you think you are the smartest? No, my darling, I am the clever one. I mixed the herb into the tea, and you didn't even notice it. I knew you would listen, so I did it." Mia was angry about the words of her mother-in-law. She didn't know what to say, so she brought the baby to another room and closed the door. When Mia banned her mother-in-law from her room at night and put a lock on the door, her mother-in-law Benjamin convinced her that he should sleep in another room. "Where are you going?" Mia wondered when her husband carried the pillow and the blanket to the sofa. "I don't sleep well at night. I have to get up early. Mama says many families share the responsibility for night duty. In this way, we are both awake, but that is not efficient." Mia just shook her head and told her mother's mother the next morning what she thought of it. "I can help you, but you don't leave me close to my grandson," began to argue Isabella. "And I won't. That does not concern you. And don't mix in the advice of my son. We will regulate it without them." "You got very nervous, Mia. You have to rest," said the mother-in-law. "I will get you a sedative. You poisoned yourself with this stuff," which Mia couldn't stand it anymore and ran away. When her husband arrived, Isabella initially complained about the behavior of her daughter-in-law. "She offended me. Mom, it's complicated. Don't exaggerate it." "I understand you, honey." Isabella put her hands on her son's shoulders and whispered to him lovingly, "I can understand her very well. I felt like this myself, but I had no one to help me, and she needs to rest. She's just very tired." "How can she rest?" Benjamin was not happy. He noticed that the atmosphere in the house was not the healthiest, but his conscience did not allow him to drive away his mother. "I found a sanatorium. They treat postpartum depression there. Fresh air, excellent nutrition, and leisure time for gymnastics. Here, look," she showed him pictures of the sanatorium. "It's not bad. I booked a trip for Mia. She should go on vacation." "What do you mean? A vacation?" Benjamin didn't understand. "Yes, you don't think you can take a newborn with you. But she is his mother. I can't replace my son's mother. I can handle as long as she has her nerves under control. What can she give him in this state? Only negativity. She doesn't even have milk anymore. I have to squeeze one drop after another to get something. What kind of mother is she? We have to isolate the baby from her before it gets sick. Benjamin didn't know what to say. He was not happy about his wife's mood. They had no private life. She was constantly tired and angry and left it out on him and the child. So he thought about it for a while and came to the conclusion that his mother was right. But before he paid the trip, he told his wife, "Mia thought it was a joke. You and your mother, you make fun of me, right?" "No, what's so funny about that?" "So you decided to get rid of me? Is this a home for unstable people? Do you want to withdraw my parental rights? That won't happen, treasure. Never." Mia began to laugh hysterically. She thought she would lose her mind. Maybe she would have that if her son hadn't slept in the cradle. Your baby, for which she had to stay sober. "Mia, you talk nonsense. Think about, how could I do that? You are a bundle of nerves with compulsive thoughts. You really have to rest. Come if you don't want 10 days, then at least a weekend. A change of wallpaper, one night's sleep. No, Benjamin. I deliberately got a baby. I knew what I got into, and I'm not tired of him. I get your mother's presents, and if you don't understand that, I will submit the divorce. That is probably what Isabella wants." "What kind of divorce? Did you go crazy?" "Yes, I mean it. I give you 24 hours to clarify the matter with your mother. If she doesn't move out tomorrow, I'll go. And I'm not going alone. I'm going with my son." Mia said this and hit her husband's bedroom door in front of her nose. She had terrible headaches and felt very sick. Her son felt how his mother was doing and stayed awake almost all night. In the morning, the pain became unbearable, and Mia started to get the first aid box. She was gone about 5 minutes, and when she came back, she saw her mother-in-law, who held her grandson as if she was feeding him. When she heard her daughter-in-law, she winced and turned. "What did you do there?" I said, "What did you do?" Mia was amazed at what she saw. Nothing special. I tried to calm the baby as to how breastfeeding mothers do. So I should only calm a baby, not grandma, nobody else. Only one mother has the right to do that, and you just went crazy, get lost. Mia didn't know what to do. Her first thought was to pack your things now and go out into the night. Benjamin became aware of the noise. "I'm sorry, what? What's going on here?" "Your wife makes a big deal of it. She insults me again." "It is enough." Mia cut off her mother-in-law's complaints. "I think it is dangerous for this woman to be near my son. It must be examined." "Mom, I understand you, but that goes too far," said Benjamin, confused. "It's not a bad thing about it. I fed you when you were a baby. This is completely normal. A baby only needs warmth." He would calm down and fall asleep. "If your hysterical woman weren't." "Bring her out of the bedroom." "And you're going," said Mia. She had made up her mind. She no longer wanted to stay in this apartment. Benjamin was angry, but he didn't argue with his wife. He took his mother by the arm and led her out of the bedroom. Mia didn't know what they talked about, but she didn't wait for the sunrise and other oddities. In the middle of the night, she called her brother. He answered almost immediately and didn't ask too many questions. "Pack your suitcases. I'm on my way. It's a simple trip, about 3.5 hours, and I'll be at your home. Call me if you need something. Don't react to provocations. Stay in your room. I don't know what's going on in your heads. Family." Wow, my brother kept his word. He came to collect Mia and could hardly resist Benjamin. The mother-in-law was sent away on the same day, but still Mia didn't stay with her husband. She needed some time to think things through in peace. Her brother's wife understood the problems in their family. Mia and her son got a room where her nephew used to live, and he moved in with his parents. Small, but not offensive. Benjamin came to visit, apologized, and sincerely did not understand what had happened. For him, his mother remained a sacred woman, albeit a little obsessed. But Mia saw that she had made a mistake. She should have gone earlier, as soon as she saw her mother-in-law's things in her apartment. Then that might not have happened, and your marriage could still be saved. But at the moment, Mia was not ready to return to her husband. Maybe she would think about it later. When her feelings had laid and her son was a little older, she let her husband see Vaneshka. Isabella, on the other hand, was forbidden to approach the child. With her exaggerated care, she not only did not help the young parents, but even destroyed her family.